now Eugene Jackson is set. Yamamiya is set, and we are underway with the middleweight fight. Our first of two here tonight at UFC 23.
Yamamiya is in the southpaw stance. Look for Jackson to try to keep his left foot outside of the lead leg of Yamamiya, and that keeps him out of the power zone of that big left hand. Should also circle to that direction as well.
Now Jackson noted in the pre-fight interviews that he has worked against some southpaws in his training to try to adjust to the difference that you get when everything is, if you will, turned around.
And that's exactly what it is. You're so used to fighting a right-hander that when somebody comes in his opposite stance and has the power in what normally is the jab hand, it can cause problems for righties, and that's why so many of them, when fighting southpaws, do so for months with sparring partners just to retrain their reflexes.
Jackson 9-2 overall in mixed martial arts. He has fought in pancrase-style matches before, and he is 5-2 there, training at the Gladiator Training Academy, a mixed martial arts gym where one discipline does not reign. And he and Lasik are truly students of this fight game, and two, I believe, of the up-and-comers in the UFC. The left connected. So the first punch thrown by Yamamiya, and it glances off the right ear of Eugene Jackson.
Jackson is not stepping forward to throw punches. He's waiting. It looks as though he is going to try and counter. There was his first attempt. It was off of one of Yamamiya's jabs, and Yamamiya appears to be playing it like a boxer, leading with the jab hand and then trying to finish up with the 1-2.
Now, certainly there is a reach advantage for Yamamiya, with Jackson being just 5'8" and Yamamiya being 5'11", 6 foot. And so that is one thing that Jackson will try to work, is in the close quarters. That's where he can get his shots in. Again, the left.
Jackson, when he's coming in, is staying inside of that lead leg, putting him in the zone for that left hand. He needs to try to circle outside, or at least place his lead leg on the outside. And the way it's appearing here on your TV screen would be closer to you, the viewer. As long as he stays out.
Got to hit with that one.
Well, he also tripped there. He tripped there. Yeah, the punch scored, but I don't think it was a knockout punch at all. I don't think it stunned him very much. Jackson right back up, and now they're in an upper body tie, classic Greco-Roman style positioning. Potential for body shots and knees here. Each of them hiding their head so that a knee can't come up and catch them. And it's so interesting, you can hear the corners. You can hear the corners. Tim Lasik trying to coach Eugene Jackson there.
Well, there is certainly a feeling of loneliness when you are one of the American fighters fighting against a Japanese fighter on their turf, if you will. And I remember fighters the first time we came to Japan back in December of 1997 talking about feeling like they were on the island and the whole fight world was against them. So the relationship of Lasik and Jackson certainly plays a major part in not only the preparation, but the fight itself here tonight.
Absolutely.
3 5-minute rounds again here in our middleweight fights. In our first heavyweight fight, that will depend or tell us who will be our one contender, the top contender. And then the heavyweight championship will be 5 5-minute rounds. 1:14 remains here in round number 1 between Jackson and Yamamiya.
You can see Jackson loading up. I mean, he's got all the weight on his back foot. He's leaning back in his stance, trying to load up with the punch, waiting for Yamamiya to come within range.
Yamamiya's got good quickness, Jeff.
And I give Peretti some credit here. He spelled it out exactly. He said that Jackson has to lure Yamamiya in so that he can go ahead and connect with the punching, and that's exactly what Eugene Jackson is doing. You can see he's a little bit over his front foot here, but as he rocks that step back, you see him, that trail leg keeps setting, and each time it sets, you can see him coiling, and he leans back on it, and you know he's coming forward.
Yamamiya sure is trying to size things up, and he really has that distance factor zeroed in on now because Jackson is thrown. Now he goes high with the kick, but Yamamiya is able to step back and avoid any damage.
Good tactic, though. It makes Yamamiya think of something else on the way in. But to his credit, Yamamiya is feeling with the jab, and each time he comes in that inch, two more, you know, left hand to Jackson, it didn't even faze him. That was the power hand of Yamamiya connecting, and it didn't even seem to rock Jackson at all.
Jackson tried to go with a straight kick that time. up and underneath, almost like an uppercut punch. And round one comes to a close, and a show of respect as always between our two game competitors.
Fairly even round. I have no idea. Very relaxed Jackson, laughing right there. Let's see if we can hear Tim Lasik. There in the other corner, Yamamiya getting coaching there. Some of the earlier action, that right hand, and there you see that left hand, it seemed on the button on Jackson's chin and it didn't do anything, and Jackson looked like he tried a right leg kick and just happened to trip on it, and that's why he went down. But that's the second time, because of slow motion, we got to see a left hand land. That's the power hand, and Jackson wasn't even stunned. He didn't even back away. So I wonder what kind of power Yamamiya truly has in taking out Jackson. Jackson may now become a little more brazen and close the distance himself.
We are at the Tokyo Bay NK Hall in Tokyo, Japan. Mike Goldberg, Jeff Blatnick, James Wormy, happy to be with you here. UFC 23, start of round number 2 of our first of 2 middleweight fights. They tap off in respect, sizing each other up. This one has not really gone to the mat yet, other than, as you said, the slip by Eugene Jackson.
And that was off an attempted kick. I don't think that was a takedown of any sorts, and Yamamiya couldn't even keep him down. He was back up on his feet and engaging him so quickly. I would have to call that first round a draw. I don't think anybody did anything enough to warrant winning the round.
You can hear Lasik again. Keep the right hand up.
And obviously that's to protect from the big left hand coming in from that side. But he did say hit him with the hook. And that's because that's a lazy jab out there that Yamamiya is putting out.
These two competitors happy at this point, through about 6 minutes of competition, to try to go toe-to-toe.
It seemed as though Jackson right there was almost going to start to move forward. But now he's gone back to the standstill and seems to be loading up on that right leg. Oh, right hand by Jackson.
Oh, big one. Jackson trying to close it out.
They're trading. Now this is where conditioning starts to come in. Big flurry. Big flurry, they acknowledge it. They acknowledge it, but that burns energy.
I really like Eugene Jackson's style. And you know what? Give that same credit to Yamamiya. They're loving what they're doing, and this is their passion.
And it's actually a big chess match, and that is why they smile at each other. They're so involved in the moves that they're doing, the techniques, that they're not thinking about their opponent. They're thinking about their performance. And when they come out of it, they're respectful because each was able to land.
I remember last competition that Lasik was in. Eugene Jackson was there. We were in Louisiana, good flurry. And you and I were both talking to them about this UFC game, if you will. And you stopped at one point and said, you guys could talk this all day long, couldn't you? I think Eugene Jackson's reply was, yeah, probably all day and all night. And you could see by the reaction after the flurry a few moments ago, the joy there on a big right hand. Another punch delivered. He has stunned his opponent.
That first right hand, there seemed to be a step in which Yamamiya needed to catch himself. He's all there again, but certainly that flurry was all Eugene Jackson. That's the first dominant flurry we've really seen, one-sided.
Jackson got a little kick down on the ankle, the right ankle of Yamamiya to set up that big right hand, and there is some blood, it appears, coming from the nose of Yamamiya. Yamamiya and Jackson, 2:15 remaining in round 2.
Jackson's punching now seems to be stronger than Yamamiya's, and here conditioning, once again, the ability to move and the ability not to hesitate. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, and if you're tired, you will hesitate in initiating your offense. Jackson appears very strong. He's not pressing it, though. He's not pressing it. And again, you can see the placement of that foot there. When he stepped, he went outside. That helps take away that power punch of Yamamiya. But if he stays inside that leg with his lead foot, he's in that zone.
Now, Yamamiya certainly, on paper, based on past experience, would have the edge in his submission ability. That doesn't mean that Jackson can't be effective in grappling, though.
Oh, Tim Lasik, I'm sure, is a great teacher. He displayed in his UFC debut and second match good ground skill. He's also a competent striker. He, too, has some quick hands and feet. So I think Jackson has the ground game thought of, prepared for it. But certainly I think he feels very comfortable going toe-to-toe with Yamamiya here, and certainly he's been hit on the button 2-3 times by that left hand. It didn't even phase him, where that one flurry, it appeared as though Yamamiya may have been just momentarily stunned. But this is not where Jackson wants to be, giving up inside position underhooks, his back up against the octagon fence. He'd rather be the other way around and make what appears to be a less physically developed fighter in Yamamiya compared to Jackson, dictating action. Why can't Yamamiya here be pushed up against the fence? Jackson doing like this. There, that was effective scoring. Good body shots.
Yamamiya and Jackson. 15 seconds remains in round 2.
Some funky shorts by Yamamiya, half camouflage, half bright.
And the bell sounds, and the end of 10 minutes of our 15 minutes of allotted time here in middleweight fight number 1. Now keep in mind the middleweight division all of a sudden has some holes in it. Boss Rutan coming down to fight as a middleweight. He, of course, wants our champion Frank Shamrock, but I think Eugene Jackson, and from what we've seen so far, Yamamiya can be factors in the middleweight division.
And looking at you're right. Looking at the replay, though, of that Eugene Jackson right there, though, you could see that Yamamiya was stunned by that right hand. And you're correct. That middleweight position, because the champion, Frank, relinquished his belt, and he's going to pursue some other opportunities, he feels. I sure hope comes back to the octagon. Certainly opens the door for some other contenders to become title hopefuls. Tito Ortiz is in there. Certainly Boss Rutan coming down from heavyweight and being the heavyweight champion. He's in the picture. The question, who else is coming in?
Well, and there are also Lions Den fighters in the middleweight division who may be heard from again in the future. Of course, we'll see Pete Williams, Lions Den fighter in the heavyweight championship. Still ahead tonight here on UFC 23. Third and final round between Jackson and Yamamiya.
Woo. Big left hand just missed Jackson.
This one may end on one punch.
It's starting to look as though Yamamiya is pressing. If he starts moving into Eugene Jackson, that's exactly what Jackson wants. Jackson wants to stand upright and throw punches. And conditioning, I believe, is Eugene Jackson. With that added power that he has and his ability in terms of speed, I really think at this point, the way the Sal.